And we are in the Blarney Stone Pub in lovely Berkley, Michigan, with Derek Richards, the comedian. And the reason we chose the Blarney Stone for this interview is because you've got a streaming show coming up, which basically is an Irish comedy tour. And I want to talk about that in a minute, but I want to backtrack for a bit and let people know about you. And one of the reasons I want to interview you is because, as many people know, I'm on Sirius XM satellite radio on channel 115, shameless plug. And you are on the Bob and Tom show as a regular, also on Sirius XM satellite radio. So we're kind of like kin in a way.
We're related, but not really.
Not really.
Yeah, we're related by a network, so
Yeah.
and by Guinness now.
And by
so
Guinness,
works out
of
perfect.
course. Yes. Which is the real reason I picked the Blarney Stone. You know.
That's a brilliant selection. When you said let's meet at the Blarney Stone, I'm like, I'm gonna love this guy already.
So, you're not just a pretty face. You've done a lot of you've done a lot of interesting things.
I am still, you know what? You can flatter me and buy me a Guinness all you want. I'm still not gonna sleep with you.
Oh well, that's good to know. Actually, not that there's anything wrong with that, as they say on Seinfeld, but you've done some pretty interesting things. I mean, I thought after Bob Hope, people didn't go out and do USO tours, but you still do them.
Yeah, Armed Forces Entertainment does a great job of bringing some people out there, and it's everybody from it's bands, it's comedians, it's the Redskins and Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders doing stuff for the troops all the time. So it's an experience. It's an incredible experience. The most fun I've ever had doing comedy anywhere, and it's just crazy scenarios that you're put in, and you really just get to appreciate what you have here. In the States, anytime somebody says, "Oh, I did a crappy gig last night," I'm like, I did a show on a flatbed in Afghanistan at 1 o'clock in the afternoon in a sandstorm. So it's an incredible experience. It's very humbling to see what those people do over there and the work they put out, and it's amazing.
I'm glad to see that today people are more appreciative of our troops. I remember back in the Vietnam days, they would come back. The sad part of it was they were all conscripts, most of them, and they were still getting spit on, and they don't set the policy. They just go out and do what they have to do to protect our nation.
Yeah, it's their job like anybody else, like anybody going to their, IT gig today. It's a job that they chose, and it's a difficult situation that they're put in, but they've got to, follow a directive like anybody does at their job.
Is it a little scary going into a war zone like that?
No, it's very scary. It's very scary. I mean, mostly I'm scared at last call from bouncers or from like a potential bad decision I'm about to make. And I'm like, wow, do I really want to go to bed with that? I don't know if that's a really good idea. But the scene over there, because they give you the best security that they can. I mean, it's, they all have jobs to do. And so you get certain security detail. You have to wear Kevlar, you wear the helmet and all that, and they do the best they possibly can to take care of you. But there's always situations that come up where, a mortar lands in camp not far away from you, and you're like, okay, we're in a war zone. This is legit. This isn't Compton. This is actually I can't flee to the suburbs. Because the suburbs in Afghanistan and Iraq are even worse than where you're at. So it's crazy. It's very jarring when you experience that as someone who's not a trained, soldier, sailor, airman, Marine. So it's pretty crazy. It puts it in a lot of perspective. It's crazy.
Now, you never really wanted to be a comedian, but I understand that somehow you were opening for comics or something, and you were watching them and decided that's what you wanted to do?
Well, I was in radio for 8 years.
I'm sorry.
I know, right? That's so funny. I did radio for 8 years. Went to Specs Howard Broadcasting School in Detroit, and so that was a great experience for me.
It's an excellent school. It's worth making the plug because I know a lot of people who graduated from there who did very well, and of course I know Dick Kernan who
Dick's a legend.
Somehow manages to place everybody, even in this shrinking radio economy, in a gig when they graduate.
Dick is a legend at that school. He really is. But I was in radio for 8 years, and then just was disenfranchised with the industry, and lost my last full-time radio job. And a friend of mine was running a comedy club on the west side of Michigan in Kalamazoo, a little weekend place at a Quality Inn, right off of I-94. And I'm like, this looks interesting. And so, I mean, I had never grown up, thinking about doing comedy. I'd never listened to Cosby albums or Carlin albums growing up. I knew who they were, and I respected their body of work. But it never dawned on me that I would ever be in a situation where I would be able to go up on stage and make people laugh. And at the time, really, there was really only A&E's Evening at the Improv, if you remember that. And so I would watch that. And I was, like I said, I loved comedy. Always had a great time. But this guy gave me an opportunity to go up, and I said, I'd like to try this. And the guy who ran the club over there, great guy, he said, go up. And so I was very fortunate to be able to go up and be paid the very first time that I was up on stage. Back in, Thanksgiving, 1993.
In a previous iteration in my professional career, I was director of content for paltalk.com, which is a chat program, but we did content. We brought in a lot of comedians. Kenny Kramer, the real Kramer, who happens to be a buddy of mine. We had Chevy Chase. We had a lot of guys, Jim Norman. And I have learned hanging around the comedy clubs that these boisterous, and it's very difficult to stand up there in front of a group of people, and you don't know how they're going to react, and a joke that goes well last night might fall absolutely flat the next. You got to be really kind of brave to do that. And then I find out a lot of these guys, when they get off stage or before they're on stage, they're real quiet, introverted people, not at all what you see on the stage. And you yourself struggled through depression earlier in your life, and I'm curious whether there's a cause and effect there, or whether it's therapeutic when you get up on stage.
For me, it's always therapeutic. I mean, I was never one that had suffered from I didn't suffer from any kind of depression. I know a lot of comedians.
Oh, okay, I read that you had.
A lot of comedians did. Well, I had.
That's what you read in the newspaper.
It's everywhere. I went through. I wrote a book that was came out back in October called Whiskey, Cancer, and Bad Decisions. And so, if anything, where the depression thing was pulled from was when I was diagnosed with cancer, because I'm a 19-year cancer survivor. And so, at the time when I was going through that was really the most depressing point in my life. And that was more based on my illness, and also coming off the loss of my father and my grandparents, whom I was very close to within a 2-year window. So that was a very downtime for me. So if anything was pulled from any content about being depressed, that was it. But I mean, as a comedian, I've always been generally a positive, upbeat person. I mean, I'm not positive and upbeat all the time. I don't trust those people. Anybody who always says that everything's amazing, everything's beautiful, and the world is full of puppies and rainbows, they're completely medicated, or they're completely drinking this constantly.
Well, it's good to drink the Guinness every once in a while, but probably not constantly. But
no. That's why I said if you're
but you're generally an up person. Are you always on? I know Pat Cooper pretty well, actually, and he is always on. You would think he was on stage walking down the streets of Manhattan.
Pat Cooper is a brilliant comedian. I can't. It's funny. I can't stand to be around people that are on like that all the time. If I can't come off stage and hang out with you as a comedian, and we can't just have a normal conversation like we're having right now, that drives me absolutely insane. If somebody's constantly, trying to order food like Jack Nicholson or something, it's like, God, will you shut up? Just give it a rest.
Yeah.
So it's different, the personalities that you run into in this business, where, you see certain people, like I said, before they go on stage or when they come off, they're very quiet or introverted. I think I'm pretty outgoing, but I'm certainly, much more subdued and not always, Mr. Jokey guy 24/7, because that'll just annoy the crap out of you. I mean, that just...
Somehow with Pat it resonates, though. I would say he would be an exception.
That's his, yeah. I mean, that's the fabric of him. I mean, he is just... He's hilarious. Yes. I mean, a legend. I mean, he's been around forever, and he's a great guy. But yeah, there's plenty of people that I know in this business, colleagues that I work with now, that if they were constantly doing their act off stage, I would just bust a bottle and just end their life.
Yeah. But by the way, you two are neighbors now, because he pulled up stakes in Manhattan and he married some chickadee and he's living in Vegas.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, I remember seeing his name, and I remember seeing him in Vegas at the Las Vegas Comedy Festival.
By the way, I know we're in Detroit, but those are not shots fired. They're just breaking the ice. Go ahead.
No, what they're doing is they're actually dragging a Ukrainian woman downstairs as part of a human trafficking operation here at the Blarney Stone. A lot of people are unfamiliar with what they do here. This is a front. This is all money laundering.
If you're going to do Ukrainian women, you should do it at an Irish pub because it throws the feds right off.
They have no idea. They have no idea what's going on. It's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to, of course, talk about the Irish comedy tour, right? So it's been described as sort of like St. Patrick's Day on steroids. Didn't the producers know? Do they check the calendar that St. Patrick's Day is in March, not in June?
Well, what's funny with this is that, as I always say, an Irish pub, as we're sitting in here now on June 11th, is open. So, like, you can't turn the Irish off.
Right.
It's like, Santa comes around between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then December 26th, he's done. And, sure, you can go to Bronner's in Frankenmuth, Michigan all the time, but as a rule, you don't have a Christmas tree hanging around your house 24/7. So it's a.
You don't know my friends because they put their lights up and they're too lazy to take them down.
Are they?
That's how I find their houses.
Are they Mexican? Because that's very common with that culture.
Yes. No.
Leave the Christmas lights up in the pinatas 24/7.
The guy I'm thinking of, it's Christmas, but he's Jewish, so maybe he just wants to be part of the Christmas spirit.
She's escaping, by the way, the one that they
That's right.
dragged down the stairs.
Yeah.
She looks adorable.
Yes, she does, doesn't she?
Man, I can't believe.
Now I know
Good
what
for
we're
her.
going for dessert. But anyway, that's a horrible joke. I should leave the comedy to you because I'm going to get in trouble.
No. That's you want to dig a hole, you can dig it as deep as you want. I could care
It
less.
takes the heat off of you. So tell me about this tour.
This show, we've been doing it since 2006. I started the thing, and I'm the founding member, the producer of it, and it's basically, like I said, St. Patrick's Day rolled into one show. There's myself, another stand-up comedian, Mike McCarthy, who's out of Boston, and we have two musicians on the show as well. Derek Keane, who's a singer-guitar player from Dublin, Ireland, and Damon Labbard, who's our fiddle player from actually Nova Scotia. And it's like the best of an Irish pub and St. Patrick's Day rolled into a show. It's the musicians are the hosts of it. They come out and do, 15 minutes up front, kind of get the crowd warmed up. I come out and do about a half hour, 35 minutes. They come back up and do a few minutes in between as a transition. The other comedian comes out, Mike, at the end. Then we all come out to close out the show. But the cool thing is with the special, we shot this in Connecticut. We shot the live show in Connecticut. But what we did was we had given it to a guy who's an independent filmmaker, comedian in Vegas. And he said, I got an idea. He goes, get footage of you guys on the road for a year. And so we did that. So we gave him all the footage, and he took the special and took all the footage and crunched it into an hour-long show. So you're seeing not only what we do on stage, but us off stage, acting like idiots, and also the dynamic that we have with each other off stage. So it makes it's very fast-paced, because as well as anybody, in this business today, everyone has the attention span of a goldfish. And so it's a constant, fast-moving thing. So it cuts to me on stage for a couple minutes, then it cuts to us off stage, then to the musicians, then the other comedian, then off stage. So it's all that constantly happening during the entire time.
Sounds very cool. A lot of people don't really realize that there actually is culture when it comes to the Irish. It's not green beer and green bagels. I actually hate St. Patrick's Day because all the amateurs come out. But I love the Irish pubs. They're congenial. Actually, when I was here in Detroit, they used to call me Gary Obaumgarten, so you know where I hung out. The Tipperary, the Shillelagh, those were my hangouts.
Absolutely.
Tommy O'Halloran, the Bradys. I knew John Brady very, very well. Of course, this is going to a worldwide audience, and we're boring the shit out of them right now by saying this, but oh well, this is hometown. Old hometown day for Derek and me, so you have to excuse that. But I mean, there is, especially in the music, a lot of culture. The music tells a story usually.
No, it really does, and it's what we do is we don't do the slow, depressing Irish songs because there's plenty of those.
Oh yeah, too many.
There's a lot of those, so it's very upbeat. It's a very fun show that we put together. No one's doing Danny Boy and crying.
Yeah.
In the back.
Yeah.
She's feisty.
Yes, she is.
She is not messing around.
You got to be careful with Danny Boy. I wrote a parody of Danny Boy. It flopped because because none of my Irish friends enjoyed making fun of Danny Boy. So my other Irish songs, Over the Wall, great parody. But Danny Boy, they were ready to fight.
Well, that's pretty stereotypical of the Irish anyway. So
yes.
getting up drinks in you, and then do a parody of Danny Boy, and then you get your ass kicked.
Exactly.
So it happens.
And I would have it coming, actually.
Yeah,
In retrospect, I realized it was sort of like my joke about the lady who we were going to visit after the interview, who was just dragged down the stairs. Not a good idea.
Well, the thing is, I mean, everybody needs to laugh at themselves, and and that's kind of we joke about our culture in the show. I mean, the theme is that I'm just raised Irish Catholic here in in the Detroit area, and everybody can relate to it because everybody's from elsewhere, and so you get people come up after shows that we do, and their parents are from Greece or from Germany or from Poland or wherever, and they can all relate to, because we're all cut from the same cloth at the end of the day, and certain ethnicities have certain stereotypes that go with them. The Irish seem to have the ones that are obviously well known as far as drinking and fighting and and stuff like that. So it's it's fun to joke around about it. And the cool thing is, I mean, like I said, you got to be able to laugh at yourself more than anything. Today more than ever.
I do that every morning when I look in the mirror. So, Derek Richards, tell us where we can catch the show.
The show is actually available now. It's on Dish, DirecTV, Amazon Prime, iTunes, Comcast Xfinity, YouTube, Vimeo, Vudu, Google Play, and Microsoft Xbox as well. So there's like 10 platforms altogether that you can get it on.
And we just look up Irish Comedy Tour and we'll find it?
You call in the Irish Comedy Tour into your remote on your TV or pull it up on your device, YouTube TV, which is pretty much anywhere. You can pull that up and our special comes up on there, and you can buy it or you can rent it. Buy it for like $12. You can rent it for like $3 or $4. But it's but it's fun. We're really, really, really excited about it. Couldn't be happier with the way the product came out, and just happy to be working with the folks at Comedy Dynamics in California who saw the potential in this and brought us on board. So we're really, really happy with everything.
And as we end this interview, I want to just circle back to the very beginning and thank you for your service to those who are serving our country. I think that's very cool, the USO work.
Well, it's a lot of fun, and cheers to all you guys and women, whatever you're doing. Thank you for what you do.
And thanks for watching and listening. And as I always say at the end of these things, because I'm an old guy and I can't shake it, peace out.